Hey everyone, we're here today to install these side blades inside a KISS LE pinball machine, and these are the side blades as they come from Tilt Graphics. And then I do the wet method where I peel them off the backing of how they come packed or shipped and put them on their face them front down of the decal onto the rug, and then spray the back with soapy water in a bottle, and then apply them to the pinball machine, and we'll show you how we do that in a moment. Okay, so here's the pinball machine ready to have the side blades installed. So you can see the sides, they're black as they come from Stern's factory. So we took the balls out of the playfield so we could elevate the playfield up, so we could move the playfield around if you have to, a little bit, 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch to get the clearance you need for the side blade to fit. Now, everybody does them differently. I do, like I said, the wet draw or the wet method with soapy water, and you don't need to spray tons of water on it. It's water with electrical components inside the cabinet, so some people are a little weary on doing it this way. But as long as you spray the back and you start like blotting it down with paper towels as you're putting it on, you shouldn't have any issues with electrical. You're not spraying it over the any of the power part, the box in the front of the cabinet or anything like that, so you should be safe in that aspect. So what we're going to do now is apply the wet method to the back of the side blade and insert it inside the cabinet. Okay, one thing I forgot to point out as we were showing the cabinet from the front, as you see, there's like a nut kind of back here where my pointer is in the back of the cabinet. There's a part on that side blade that kind of like is cut out in the very back. That part should kind of butt up against that nut. So as you're putting it on, that's kind of your marker of where that side blade should go. And if you pan down to the front of the cabinet here, and then you look down like where the shooter rod is, right around here is kind of where the side blade is going to drop for the front. So that's kind of your markers of where you want to place your side blade as you're applying it. But you'll see more once I'm putting it in. Okay, so these are the decals as they come from, as I showed in the beginning of the video, from Tilt Graphics or Pin Graphics to have the same product as well. They both kind of send them out the same way. So if you're doing either from either company, this is kind of how you would do it for either one. So we would peel the back off of this. Some people cut them in half, like the backing or anything. I just take off the whole decal. And then I take your bottle of soapy water and just spray the back of the decal. Like that. Kind of take it and like flip it that way and kind of hold it like that, so you kind of have the back, let a little bit of the water drip off just so you don't have so much water. And then you would bring it over to your pinball machine and kind of just drop it in while you're kind of holding the front and the back areas, and you slide it down so you clear the playfield. And then you would kind of bring it back to where I was talking about, to that nut. And with the wet method, it kind of gives you some play in the decal to kind of lift it and do what you need to do with the decal. So kind of go back to that nut like you're lining it up on the nut, and also lining it up top to bottom on your playfield, so your glass has the trench of where your glass slides into is open as well. And then once you kind of get the back part in, kind of just rub it down a bit, and getting the air bubbles out. and then kind of like apply the front a little bit. Then you lift the play field slowly. And then just kind of unpeel a little bit if you're out of whack a little bit. And that's it. And then just take it and slide them in more. Like just when you get your placement, then take your paper towel, just dry it off. And then you could kind of just leave your playfield up so you can get in the back over here and just dry it off. I know it's hard camera work to do as well, and to get all these angles, but and then to get to the middle part of it, we're going to drop the playfield down a bit more. Like that, and then get into the middle and dry that down. And that is how you apply a side blade to a pinball machine. So we'll do the other side. Maybe we'll get some better angles as well on that side. But that's pretty much how you go all the way to the back. You might get some overlap back here, which goes onto the back wood, which is fine. And then again, the notch in the blade kind of goes around this nut that's back there on the pinball machine. So let's do the left side of the pinball machine and get prepared for that. Okay, so now we're here to put on the left-hand side. And again, I applied the wet method again as I did in the first one. So we're just going to take it, slide it down here so you have enough clearance, top to bottom, and just hold the front and the back of it, and just pull it back as you get to that nut in the back. And again, top to bottom, you want enough clearance for your glass to go down this track. And as you can see, we're actually a little bit off. I thought we were kind of dead on, but we're not. So again, you kind of have to lift to give you your slack again, to kind of maneuver this piece around. So you kind of go there. And again, you're kind of manipulating both sides at the same time as you're putting this on. And again, you're kind of looking at the lip right in here where my pointer is. You want enough room for that glass to slide in. So we're good up to this part here. So you go to the very back to that nut, start kind of applying pressure to the vinyl as you put it on. Like that. And now then you work your way to the front, and now you're going to slowly, because you don't want to wreck your side blades if they're on crooked or anything, lift up your play field and continue to the front here. And if you have problems, kind of take it up, lift it a little bit, come back down if you have to. And again, just put pressure. Take your paper towel. And you're squeegeeing the vinyl to get the air bubbles out, to get the water out, whatever is left. And as you get this side part down, now you're just going to kind of take your play field a little bit here and keep it in an elevated position and get into the middle and do the same thing. Just kind of squeegee it down with a paper towel. And that's it. And that's how you apply side blades on the left and right side. And again, just take your play field. With side blades, you got to be very careful that you don't scratch the sides. And And that's it. And that's the finished product. The left and the right side. Again, you know, everything is down. You have enough track in here for your glass to slide in perfectly, you know, so you're not like hitting the vinyl or anything like that as you're putting your glass in, and it just gives it enough clearance for that glass to slide in and out of your playfield when you have to work on your machine. And again, just give it one more rub down if you want. You know, if you want to get all those air bubbles out. And you don't, the water's not really an issue because you're not really putting a lot of water onto these on the vinyl when you're applying it. So I don't think you're going to have an issue with shorting anything out or anything like that. So that's the video, and that's the finished product of applying side blades into your pinball machine. So again, maybe we'll do one more on another pinball machine. We're going to do a Lord of the Rings tonight as well. We'll do one more side, and then maybe you'll get the gist of how you apply the side blades. Okay, so the next pinball machine we're going to do is a Williams Bally pinball machine, and we have an Addams Family, which we have PinBlades to put on that. But we're going to show the process first because you need to take out the bolts or in the back of the pinball machine of the cabinet that kind of hold the bracket for your head, so the head doesn't fall down. So basically, those nuts have to come out first on a Bally Williams game. The stern ones you could leave them in because they're kind of flush with the cabinet. These kind of like stick out a bit, so if you put your pin blade over that, it's going to look really bad, and the pin blade has a tendency to come up if you don't have that flush against the wood. So let's show how we take those bolts out of the back of the cabinet first, and then we'll get to the process of applying the pin blades back to the pinball machine. Okay, so we're in the back of the cabinet. Let's zoom out a little bit here just to show the area of where these nuts are. So we're in the back of the pinball playfield, basically back by where your head of the pinball machine would be. So if you look to the left and right of your cabinet, there's two nuts that are hex bolts, like on the back there, right where Ed's pointer finger is. And basically those two have to come out before we apply these side blades onto the machine. So once they're taken out, you'll have a hole in there. We apply the side blade to the machine, and then what we do is we take an X-Acto knife and cut an area out of that hole of where it would be, so we could put the nuts back in after the pin blades are on, and everything will go back in as planned. So let's start that. We're going to use the hex wrench and take that nut out. And that's it. And now you have a hole in your cabinet. And then again, we're going to apply the pin blade to it. And then we're going to apply that nut back in once the pin blade or side blade is applied to the cabinet. Okay, so like in the last video we did for this Stern Kiss pinball machine, these are for the Addams Family, a Bally Williams machine. So they're the same kind of setup, you know, same. They come shipped the same way. Again, we peel off from the backing, and again, this is my method. Doesn't mean everybody does it the same way that I do it, but this I found to be the easiest way for me to apply this pin blade to the machine. So I take off the pin blade. Take my bottle of soapy water that I have like just a little bit of dish detergent in with some water, and I just spray it, you know, all over, just like that. That's all you really need, no more than that. And then I just take the backing of this and kind of just tilt it to the floor to let some of the water drip off of it, the excess, and then apply it to the pinball cabinet. So we're going to walk over there now and apply it to the machine. Okay, so now we're in the back of the machine. And again, on these, there's like a little hole here that is applied, so I just pop that out. And then I take the pin blade and just slide it kind of on the side of the cabinet, of the playfield. Sometimes you got to be a little rough with them. And again, you kind of got to work this both ways, top to bottom here. And the less mods you have on your machine, the better when you're doing this. But and then you line up the front, and again, leave enough gap for your glass. There's like a little trench that the glass slides in. You got to leave that open, and that's it. And then you just take your hand, slide it down here, slide it back and forth, take your paper towel that you have on you, and just, you know, like you got a squeegee that you're doing your windows with. And just get all the air bubbles and the water out of here. And, you know, there's a lot of angles on this. It's good to do it with two people if you have another set of hands to hold the playfield up. But there's no need to remove your playfield. I hear stories of people taking out their playfields to apply these, and I don't know why you would have to go through all that process and that problem to take out your playfield and all the wiring and everything, or all that stuff, just to put in these side blades. You really don't need to take it out with the method that I'm showing you how to do. So it's really not that hard to do. So and that's really it. So that's your side blade installed inside the cabinet. And again, I left that trench for the glass to slide in and out of. You don't want to cover that because your glass is going to crease that, and over time it's going to lift, and the side blade's going to get all mangled up from your glass. So make sure you leave that trench. So now we're going to put in the nut that we had, or maybe put in the other side as well, and then we'll be done with this video. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the Addams Family, and now we're going to put the other side blade on the other side using the wet method again with the soapy water. So I already sprayed the back of it. So now again, sometimes you got to give it a little bit of a little pressure to get it in there. And again, it's good to sometimes have two people doing this. Okay, so we're down in the cabinet. Okay, so now you just apply pressure again once you get it on. And again, leave enough gap for your glass in the top. Take your paper towel and rub it over. To get all the bubbles and the water that might be behind it out. Try to go in like one motion if you can, like top to bottom. that's it. And that's doing the other side of your pinball machine with a side blade. So we did the left and the right side. Now we're going to apply the hex bolts that go back into the head in the back of the pinball machine. Okay, so now we're at the back of the pinball machine again, and as you can see where this portrait is, there's a hole of where we took out a hex bolt where Ed's pointer finger is right now. So we need to apply those bolts again. So what you need to do is put in the bolt that goes outside of the cabinet first. So the part where the artwork of the cabinet would be goes in the hole first, and then you go inside the cabinet like Ed is doing right now and applying the other side of the hex bolt, and you just screw it in because the side blades already have pre-holed like areas of where it indicates of where you should put your side blade. So you screw these both back in, tighten them up, and you're good to go. And then everything is ready to go. So now what we're going to do next is a Daddy East machine, a South Park actually, that we're going to put side blades on. So we're covering the three major pinball companies we're doing this. We did a Stern, we did a Williams Bally, or a Bally Williams, and next we're going to do a Data East machine. So that'll cover the big three of in the pinball industry of side blades that we're applying. So stay tuned for that video. Hey everyone, we're here to put side blades now into a Data East South Park machine. So what we have here is from Tilt Graphics are the side blades for the left and right side of the machine. Here we have a bottle of soapy water, and I do it with the wet method. That's how I apply my side blades. I made two other videos previously before this one of a Williams Bally machine and also a Stern machine, showing the method as well on those machines. So now we're going to do it for a Data East machine. So I peel the one side off of the backing that comes with the pin blades or side blades. Take my soapy water. I know it says Windex, but it's a soapy water, and I just spray it down. Just like that. And then I take the side blade here and just let the water kind of drip off a little bit just to get the excess off. And that's it. Now we're going to bring it to the machine and apply it onto the side of the cabinet. So we're here at the pinball machine now, the South Park machine. This is the side blade we're going to put in, and we're putting it, and now as you can see on the play field, we have it jacked halfway out of the cabinet on its support legs, so I have access to the front and the back of the cabinet while I could hold onto my side blade and tweak it around as we need it. So if we go to the side of the cabinet here, I'm going to take my side blade and slide it on the side of the play field. And you just kind of got to, work it back and forth a little bit here. So we're in now. And now you want to kind of push it back. And I see there's a nut on the back of this as well, as there is on the Stern cabinet. So I could see they kind of didn't stray too far from that. So take your side blade, holding it from the front and the back as well, and kind of keeping it centered as you pull. Leaving the trench for the glass. And you want that nut right here to line up with that gap in your side blade. That's where you want it. And then just take your side blade and kind of stick it back there. And now start applying pressure to lay it down onto the wood of the cabinet. So now as we do that, we're going to work our way forward into the cabinet, lifting the playfield slowly as we do this. So I think we're good, and we could go up with the cabinet, or with the playfield. Now if you see here, we have our gap, which is here, which you have to keep. You can't let that go. Like, you can't put the pin blade over that. Okay, so now we have our pin blade adhered to the side of the cabinet, but as you could see, it's a bit long for where your flipper buttons are. So for ours, we're going to actually cut the portion that we don't need that's too long, about right in this vicinity right here maybe, because this is where the flipper button kind of is, where it pops through your cabinet. So if we kind of go like this, give it enough room here, and just okay, so we started it, which is good. So let's cut the rest off here. And that's it. So that's the way that you would apply a side blade onto the side of a Data East cabinet. Here's the final product of the side blades in the South Park Sega pinball machine, as I keep calling it Data East, which I think is pretty much the same company. But yeah, they look great installed in the machine. They really make a big difference. And all the side blades were purchased from Tilt Graphics, and they make some great products as well, and they would really look great probably in your machines as well. So you could watch all my videos if you go to www.pinballsupernova.com, and all the links are on the homepage to my YouTube page, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my blog at WordPress, where all my videos are posted with all news and information about pinball. So thanks again for all the subscribers to my website, and also to the YouTube page. I really appreciate it, appreciate the support, and I appreciate everybody checking out the videos. So again, until the next mod, talk to you soon.